You know, it's rare that we would talk about a PA announcer like a player on the team, but when Renel Brooks-Moon has done more than 2,000 games and was the first and only voice of, I'll still call it, Pac Bell Park, I literally went to the opening series, exhibition series. I think it was Giants-Yankees. It was April 2000. The ballpark was just opening, and hearing her voice take over as a familiar voice in media and broadcasting for all the years, and she's only even become more iconic because of that presence and announcing baseball games at Oracle Park. This is shocking, and I don't know all the details, and I'm not going to pretend to know the entire story of what's going on or how it all plays out. The one thing I do know and understand and respect is somebody who's in this field, her longevity and what she's been doing around here for so long makes her iconic, and I think that's why it makes this separation, or whatever we're calling it, pretty shocking to find out a couple weeks before the start of a baseball season.
Yeah, I mean, Brody, when I found out the news, I practically wanted to cry this morning. I mean, seriously, that's how much Renel has meant to me and anyone who's gone to a game at Oracle Park. And I think you know this well. The press box, when you first enter it, can be a really intimidating space, regardless of how long you've been a member of the media. If you've covered a team in a different market, I think that the press box itself is just, there's so many people in there. It's such a busy workspace that it can feel uninviting, cold, and
territorial. I think sometimes
very territorial.
Yeah.
And when you stepped into Renel's booth, it was the most inviting place in the whole ballpark. I think that what the culture that Renel fostered on the broadcast level, you felt it in the way that Dwayne Kuiper and Mike Krukow broadcast a game, because they'd spent, an hour in the press box beforehand interacting with Renel. It's impossible to come away from a conversation with her and not feel better about yourself, not feel better about life, not feel better about everything, because she just radiates positivity and joy, and she's so courageous. She's so brave. I think that she's helped so many people behind the scenes. And I think that if this move really came down to the Giants wanting a new voice, or the Giants not being willing to meet a contractual need for Renel, it's one of the saddest things that the organization will ever do. It really will be. And I think that it's reflective of ownership that they couldn't get the job done, because if you ask any Giants fan right now what their main issue with the organization is, I think 90% would tell you ownership. And it's just gotten to the point where they've done so many things to drive away fans, but this might be the biggest thing to drive away fans. It's that shocking to walk into Oracle Park and hear a different voice.
I think a lot of people surrounding a team, whether it's broadcasters or in this case, public address announcers, you want to feel like you're part of the presentation and the product. And again, to your point, I just think a lot of people, when they show up for this baseball season, and that's a big part of it, like how the sounds, I mean, how the ballpark looks, how it feels, but how it sounds, like she's almost entirely responsible for that. And it's the only voice that the ballpark has ever known. So,
and the crazy thing is, opposing players would say, when they would sign with the Giants, they'd say one of the first things they'd look forward to is hearing Renel call their voice on
Say My Name.
How many PA announcers do you know?
Yeah.
Like, how many PA announcers around Major League Baseball? 5, 6?
Yeah.
Could you pick out and say, I know that person? That's partly because we work in media, and so we know a few. But for the average fan, you go to different ballparks, it's usually a generic voice. Renel's voice is the least generic you've ever heard.
Yeah.
It's the most inviting. It made you feel like Oracle Park was home, and the ballpark won't be the same without her. I'll leave it at that. It can't be the same without Renel.
Well, she's been around for so long. My first memories of her were on KMEL back in the day.
Yes.
I think when I was in high school. So,
driving to school.
I know she'll be around in one way or another. But I hope that in some way this works out better than maybe it seems at this point.
Yeah.